What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and we are back with another episode of our Beyond Omega Level series, where we talk about the most powerful characters in comics. And today we're doing another viewer-requested episode, and this one comes to us from Mock Tackle, I think is how you pronounce that, who requested that we cover David Richards, a character whose name is really boring, but who's ridiculously powerful. So David Richards was created by Judd Winnick and Mike McKone, and first appeared in Exiles number 12 in 2002. Now, if you are not familiar with the concept of the Exiles, they were a team that was basically made up of heroes from different universes that basically fixed broken realities. And directing all of this is an entity known as the Time Broker. Now, unbeknownst to the Exiles, the Time Broker had basically formed another team called Weapon X, and this team is made up of alternate reality versions of Sabretooth, Storm, Spider-Man, Deadpool, She-Hulk, and Vision. So, these two teams finally meet, and at this point in time, the Exiles roster is made up of Blink, Morph, not the one from Xmen the Animated Series, by the way, Nocturne, who's basically the daughter of alternate versions of Scarlet Witch and Nightcrawler, Mimic, and then Sasquatch. Keep in mind, however, that these are not the main Marvel Universe versions of these characters, but ones from alternate realities. But regardless, the Exiles and Weapon X meet up and get called on a mission to Earth 2600, which is a world where mutants are being eradicated by Sentinels, much the same way as was done in like the Days of Future Past storyline or Bishop's timeline. But on Earth 2600, much like the Days of Future Past reality itself, Franklin Richards, the son of Reed Richards and Susan Storm, has a child with Rachel Summers, the daughter of Cyclops and Jean Grey. Now, on Earth 2600, Franklin and Rachel are both dead, and David is a 6-year-old boy seen as the last great hope for mutant kind, and is predicted to be the most powerful being in the world when he grows up. So, the Exiles and Weapon X work together to infiltrate the Sentinel facility where David's being held, and they find that he's actually one of many children being held in a detention camp. And amazingly enough, they are able to rescue David and the other children quite easily, suffering no casualties along the way. What they don't know, however, is that their real mission was not to simply rescue David, but to kill him. And it's revealed that David would indeed grow up to be immensely powerful and would eventually free the planet from the rule of the Sentinels. However, due to the fact that all he had ever known was torture, death, and punishment, he would then replace the Sentinels as the world's oppressor and would enslave the planet itself. Naturally, the Exiles aren't really thrilled at the proposition of having to take out a 6-year-old, but Weapon X, the more ruthless of the two teams, is more than happy to complete the mission, because if they don't, none of them will get back to their home dimensions. So, the two teams battle with Sabretooth defecting to the Exiles, and then eventually Blink teleports the Exiles far enough away to save David's life, and then Sabretooth vows to raise the kid as his own and keep him from becoming the murderous dictator that he seemed destined to become. So, Sabretooth stays behind and raises David and the other kids, which is kind of a weird prospect to know that, like, Sabretooth is raising your child. I would kind of want to see that show, The Adventures of Sabretooth and Friends, right? Like Sabretooth the babysitter. It would just be kind of weird. But Blink eventually finds her way back to him to see what has become of the children, just in time for their attack on the last Sentinel stronghold in North America. Now, she senses something's wrong with David when he probes her mind to evaluate whether she's trustworthy, but he performs brilliantly in battle, with Blink remarking that David is what you would get if you rolled up Professor X, Magneto, and the Phoenix Force all into one entity, which should give you a good idea of how ridiculously powerful this guy is. Now, after the Sentinels are defeated, David announces that they were just a symptom of the Earth's real problem, which is humans. He then takes over Blink's mind and forces her to use her powers to murder people by teleporting them in half for 2 solid days. David's killing spree was then put to an end when Sabretooth took him by surprise and ripped his heart from his chest. Now, David would eventually resurrect himself, but would not retain any of his memories or his powers. But in the brief time he was around, David Richards was extremely powerful, as he was born of 2 Omega-level mutants. Now, like his mother, David possesses incredibly strong telepathic and telekinetic abilities. Not only can he read minds, but he can take control of the minds of others and force them to act in accordance with his will and against their own, as we saw when he forced Blink to murder a bunch of people. He also possesses the ability to absorb the powers of others and mimic whatever powers they may possess, and even amp them up to higher levels. For instance, Blink was able to exceed the limitations of her teleportation ability when David was in control of her mind. But what really sets David apart is that he seems to be able to manifest the Phoenix Force at will. Now, the Phoenix Force is one of the most powerful forces in the Marvel Universe and is the embodiment of all life that has ever, currently does, or will ever exist across the Omniverse. So typically, we've seen the Phoenix Force take over a host such as Jean Grey or Rachel Summers and basically use the host to do some ridiculously powerful things. And in some cases, like with Jean Jean Grey, the Phoenix Force can actually corrupt the person that it's chosen as its host. Regardless, the fact that David Richards is able to summon the Phoenix Force seemingly at will and without having to serve as its host, and the fact that he is described as being Professor X, Magneto, and the Phoenix Force all rolled into one, and it's not hard to determine that he is way beyond Omega level. Granted, we don't see many feats he pulls off because he's not around very long in the comics. All we really see is him taking out 84 Sentinels at once. But when we evaluate his potential, we know that he's capable of a whole lot more. And the fact that he is the son of Franklin Richards, who is probably one of the most powerful reality warpers in all of Marvel Comics, suggests that maybe he has reality warping abilities, but we haven't really been able to find any concrete examples of him being able to alter reality. But yeah, that's basically David Richards, right? We don't really see him pop up outside of like that one reality, but it would be interesting to see him at the height of his power. So with that being said, guys, we're gonna bring this to an end. If there are any characters you want to see, post comments down below, and I will catch you all later. Peace.